Hi everyone, it's Misty here from TheJollyFatElf. Welcome to another day in my 2020 holiday card series. So if you guys have been with me for a hot minute, you may remember this fall I made a card that was like a pumpkin spice latte. Well, Krista, who drew that image, also has a Christmas image. So that's what we're making today. So this is the card I'm going to walk you through. Aren't these just the cutest? I love, 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 love. So you can see he's kind of sparkly. He's got some what's it called? Dimension on the little sprinkles. So yeah, so let's head over to my craft table and I'll walk you through how I made this adorable card. So I printed this image on the Hammermill 100-pound cardstock that I like to use. And I use a laser printer. So I had some people tell me that they can use digital images with an inkjet and color with Copics with no problems. I've heard that you should use a laser. Your mileage may vary, but even if you don't use Copics with inkjet, you can use other mediums with them. So I kind of have the colors off to the right. So it's RV 69, 19, 5 and 2. Initially, I was going to do a more pink cup, but I picked the pattern paper. One of the patterns is a bit more burgundy, or like a raspberry. So that's why I went a little bit deeper with the colors that I chose to use on this cup. And I have the color going lightest to darkest from right to left, because you guys know I like to put these images kind of on their side. So really simple coloring, not a whole lot to talk about. I really love this image, and I created a sentiment. That's the reason why I went with burgundy, because some reason I printed in burgundy. It's beginning to look a latte like Christmas. I can't take credit for that. There's 5 million Christmas quotes or Christmas sayings on Google that have that one. So I don't know who the original creator of it was, but it's pretty clever. This is what I do when I film. I watch YouTube videos. So now you know behind the scenes, the rest of the story, what's happening. Okay, so what I've started doing when I've colored a little bit outside the lines is I'll bring in one of these pens from American Crafts. They're one of their archival pens, and I will extend that black line in order to ensure that it doesn't look like I've missed. And I really do this when I'm coloring with reds or pinks. It just seems to make it a bit easier. So for the YGs, I have a YG06, YG09, and I believe it's YG11 is the lightest YG we've got going there. And you saw me add some of that pink to the cheeks. I'm going to go ahead and bring back the darker RV and add some more depth to that as well, because it just kind of stood out a little bit. So I'm using these colors not only on the cup, but also on the holly and berries. I'm gonna say that that's a candy. You know how you can get those candy flowers and stuff? Do people still use those? Like, I remember just being able to go down like the birthday aisle or the cake aisle, box cake aisle at the grocery store, and they would have those candies that don't taste good, but that you can use to decorate a cake. So just simple shading using the exact same colors I used on the cup onto the hollies. Then I'm going to use E000 and then E000. And here I got a little bit of the pink onto the white. So I am just extending that black line up. And it actually, when you see this in person, it just looks like that's the drink on the inside. So it worked out well, no problem. And so that's a trick from me to you. Just extend the line. You got to be a little careful about it, but just extend the line. Okay, so you may have noticed on the thumbnail that this turns out to be way darker than it is in the photo. we're going to see what happens when we get there. But for now, I am using E000 and E00 to color the whipped topping. Even this is a bit darker than I would have liked, but it is what it is at this point. And it's not real. If it was real, it would be a huge issue. But since we're, it's paper, it'll be okay. So I'm kind of indecisive on what I want to do for the sprinkles. I couldn't decide if I wanted to do rainbow. I honestly just couldn't decide. So I brought in this, I believe it's E37 and, or maybe it's E39. Anyway, which one it is, it's named chocolate. I'm like, well, how perfect is that Copic marker for these sprinkles? So I figured it's a dark chocolate drink. So probably hot cocoa or a mocha. And so I decided that it was a good idea to use that marker. So I cut it out with scissors, and then I'm using a water-based brush tip marker for the to go around to make it so it's not white. So here I'm going to just adhere the sentiment and cut around it. This is why I like to use a trimmer that has a wire guide, like I suggest to you guys. And then I'm going to bring in, I believe this is Bermuda Bay from Stampin' Up. I honestly can't tell. I think it's Bermuda Bay. Oh, it's right in front of your face, Missy. It's Bermuda Bay. And then I am adhering this piece from the My Favorite Things paper to their lime paper. And then this is a pattern from an old Penny Black 6x6 paper pad. They no longer carry it. And then I'm going to add dimensionals to the cup, and then we're going to get that adhered. And then I'm going to add, I'm just going to glue down that sentiment with dimensionals as well. And then, like I said, you guys know I like to turn them on their side a little bit. I think it just gives it just makes it a little bit more fun. It gives, some life to a very basic card sketch. And then, like I said, it just gives a little bit of dimension. I really, really love it. So I'm going to bring in my Nuvo pen, and you can see that I smeared the tip of the whipped cream. And that's because I outlined this image with a water-based marker, and the ink spread because I went over it with the Nuvo brush pen, and I wasn't quite careful enough. So I ended up having to darken this because I wasn't starting all over. Like, I was not going to start all over. So I decided to just make it darker. So now, instead of just plain whipped cream, it's a caramel whipped cream, and that just sounds better anyway. So I made sure it was really dark on the tip, and it completely took away that ink smudge. You can't even see it on the finished card. So and like I said, I really like, I wouldn't want it to be like this initially, but I do like how I fixed it, and I do like the color that this became. And like I said, it fits. It fits with the darker jewel tone of the cup. It can be caramel. It can be whatever you want it to be, right? So yeah. So after that, I'm going to bring in some Nuvo drops to add to the sprinkles. I considered using the same sprinkles I used on my cupcake card from back in the summer. You guys remember I had that cupcake card that I made from Anthony's Papercraft. So I decided to bring in some dark walnut Nuvo drops to add to the sprinkles. And I considered using a pink to add to the heart, but I decided to just go ahead and add the clear instead. So I always suggest that if it's one that you haven't used before, or if it's a new one to you, to get some of it out, like burp it on a separate piece of cardstock. And if you're wondering what is at the top of your screen, that is my half gallon of iced tea. So once I add the Nuvo drops, that's it. That's the end of this card. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday for another card in my 2020 holiday card series. Bye, guys.